Good morning, everybody. This is Martin John, and we are here to talk about the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written in the 6th century BC, presumably by a guy Lao Tzu, filled with all sorts of enigmatic wisdom and text on how we might live a more reasonable life. I always like to kind of say a more reasonable life because it's always about progress. We're never going to live the reasonable life. We're never going to live a life that is only reasonable. We can only do our best to live a more reasonable life because moment to moment, we might be inclined to do unreasonable things, have unreasonable requests of others. Being reasonable really just means trying, our best to allow others to be who they are as they are and do the best we can to not have expectations and not have frames of reference that we are approaching all of these, relationships and other things like that we engage in with preconceptions, preconceived ideas of what it's supposed to be, and under the surface, we have preconceived ideas of what life should be, right? Most of us don't go around, and it would be foolish to run around going, well, what would happen if I couldn't walk tomorrow? And I say that because that's what I did, when I remember, and this is, I'm trying to think of a word, and it means, foreshadowing. This foreshadowed my MS. It was a year or so before I got diagnosed with MS. I was walking in the woods, and I just realized how much I loved walking. And granted, it was at that moment because I don't know that I love walking that much as I did in that moment. Today, I may, it's hard to tell because I don't know really what I was feeling back then, but I was feeling something strongly enough about walking that I said, man, I don't know what I would do if I couldn't walk. I'd probably want to end it, right? That idea that I love this so much and this is such a big deal for me that I can't imagine, right? Not being able to do this. And then I think it was probably within a year that I got diagnosed with MS and I was bedridden. I mean, I used to go walking in, dead of winter. And it would be very rare for me to not go for a hike on a weekend. It was almost like every Saturday I'd find myself over by the Palos Woods and I would just take a 5-mile hike. There were bike trails and other kinds of things and I'd be going hiking and walking and, and as a guy who grew up in the city, hiking to me was just walking, mainly because I'm in the Midwest and it's pretty flat where I'm at. So it's just really walking is just that. It wasn't anything special about being in the woods. I mean, it was, but walking and hiking were the same thing. I've realized that they are different, just because of just because of what you're walking on, and you have to utilize more energy to, allow your foot to balance at every step rather than it being paved. But it's pretty much just walking. And when I said, I don't know what I would do, it was putting it in my mind. I mean, maybe it was foreshadowing. Maybe Tao was being like, hey, there's going to be a time where you're not going to be able to walk. So enjoy this and recognize it. But I remember distinctly saying one day, I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I would do if I couldn't walk. And when I got diagnosed with MS, I remembered that. And that's the thing. Living reasonably means when I was diagnosed with MS and I was bedridden, living reasonably is doing the next most obvious thing. The next most obvious thing is not wallowing in your own self-pity and saying, oh, now I can't walk. Like, okay, the next most obvious thing is to get my mind right so that I don't let it control what is going to happen for me and let it control my next action. But living reasonably is saying, okay, this is what is at this point. That whole, it is what it is. But really, we talked about this a little yesterday, that idea that guy that was, that screwed up the mosaic was like, we're beyond that now. Again, love it. Love this idea that we're beyond that now. Yes. Once again, I think we talked about this deeply yesterday, that idea that he was saying that so he didn't have to take responsibility. But he was right. And I think that this brings us to, I'm going to read number 1 of the Tao Te Ching today. If you have a number, please come up and pick a number. We'll go through it together. If you're not familiar with Tao of the Day is a program where I talk about the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching consists of 81 chapters, and I invite you to pick a number between 1 and 81, and then we'll read that together. And, and I'll read it a couple times for you if you need, and I'll ask you about how that's resonating. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to read number 1 because of this thing at the end. Either way, no one can tell. There's this line in the end here. Either way, no one can tell. And as we approach that line, I want you guys to think about this idea that, like, that guy who said, we're beyond that now. We can't tell if he is just an enlightened being, right? That is like really just saying, well, let's just deal with what's in front of us. Or if he's made a mistake and doesn't want to expose that mistake. So he says, we're beyond that now, right? Both of them are legitimate, right? Both of them are, there's a potential that both of them are true, or one of those two things are true. The equal potential. But no one can tell. So it says here, words are particular. They cannot express Tao. So just because he says something to the effect of, well, we're beyond that now, don't linger. Get up, get up to speed. This is where we are. So words are particular. They cannot express Tao. He's not expressing Tao. I'm not expressing Tao. Nobody's here expressing Tao. We're just expressing ourselves, and we're inspired by Tao. And it says to have a name is to be limited to manifestation. That which is nameless is the source of manifestation. So if you can point to it, it's just limited to manifestation. It's the nameless. It's the fluidity of the moment that is the source of manifestation. This is what is creating manifestation. That idea that if we say, well, we're beyond that now. You're putting a certain energy in the world. You're putting a certain energy into the manifestation by saying, we're beyond that now. The energy that you're putting into the universe by saying, we're beyond that now, right? By saying that, you are putting, if you are doing it as a defense, you're putting energy into the world from that space of being defensive. If you're saying we're beyond that now because you are aligned with Tao and you're saying, oh, well, there's absolutely no reason to look at this again because we're here now. We don't have to look back. We look forward. There's a different energy to someone who says it from that perspective. So how you're saying it from the core of your being means something. If you're saying it because there's spite involved, if you're saying it because there's avoidance involved, if you're saying it because there's anger involved, if you're saying, who cares what you say? You can say we're beyond that now and it could be brilliant. Or you can say we're beyond that now and it could be spiteful. It depends on the energy you're putting out in the world. Now, the energy you're putting out in the world, that's where this next line comes in. Self-referential, those who name themselves. By you looking out at the world with this energy, you are identifying yourself in the world. You're positioning yourself in the world. And that energy that you're using to sort of, what do I want to say here? That energy that you're putting in the world by saying this, if we're going to look at this like we're beyond that now, like this happened, well, you weren't supposed to do that. Well, we're beyond that now, right? That could be said in so many different ways. That could be said from a place of, being aligned, and that can be said from a place of being misaligned. And this is, once again, we're moving towards this line. Either way, no one can tell. And it says, want to experience the depth of the mystery? Stop identifying. Want to experience the shallowness of manifestation? Differentiate. So those two lines kind of talk about like, hey, do you want to open yourself up? Go ahead and do it. Hey, do you want to close yourself off? Go ahead and do it. Either way, no one can tell. The difference is in your experience. And it's not necessarily your experience right now. Because what you're doing by putting that energy out into the world, whether that's energy of spite, or whether that's energy of anger, or whether that's energy of revenge, or whether that's energy of truly being open to receive. Because if you're putting that out in the world, guess what you're going to attract? Right? You're going to attract the same sort of thing. And the universe is on a lag, so it's going to take some time, but eventually you are going to bring back that which you're expressing. So this guy that ruined that mosaic last year or whatnot, right? He said, oh, well, we were removing the tape. And I was like, oh yeah, you're not supposed to do that until it's on the wall. Well, we're beyond that now. Okay. Now, either he is a Tao master or he is in this space of trying to avoid admitting he made a mistake. Right? If he is in the space of trying to avoid admitting he made a mistake, he is putting a certain energy out in the world that he is going to get back. And if he is a Tao master and he's just like, oh yeah, no, we're beyond that now. I know. That's cool. Like, I accept my responsibility. I'm correcting my errors. I'm doing all the work that I need to do. And I'm not afraid of moving on. Right? If he's done all that work, if all that is behind him, then he's putting a certain energy out in the world that will, once again, he will attract. And my experience of him is different from that even. Loyce, how are you?
Hey, I'm wonderful. How you doing?
Good. You back home?
Not quite. I'm in the city, but not at home. I'm on my staycation for my birthday. We check out tomorrow. Well, we're supposed to check out tomorrow, but I'm headed to California tonight.
Yeah.
it's fun to hang out with my sister and them so that I can get to see them for my birthday because they came out here last month, and I ain't gonna have them feel like, oh, I gotta go. No, I'm gonna hit them up one day tomorrow,
Yeah.
and then I'm coming right back on Sunday. So it's gonna be like a turnaround trip for all of us.
Oh, good.
So yeah, I'm
Because your
excited.
birthday's Wednesday, right?
Yep, it is.
Nice.
Yep. And I am so grateful to be here. Marjan, I mean, because I know where I came from. I know all the sickness, all the disease, all that, all that stuff. So I am so grateful to be here. That's why I start celebrating. I celebrate from the beginning of the month to the end. This time I started a little early because Nisi got to come back out there on the 8th on my birthday.
Yeah.
And we didn't know that until we were leaving there then, and they begged her. But anyway, but I'm grateful. I'm just so extremely grateful.
Good.
And I'm grateful that I didn't miss your birthday on your birthday this time.
No,
everybody. I usually see it after. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, no, you were right on. You were right on point. I really appreciate that.
Oh, no problem. I care about you, so I
love you.
Loyce has to pay attention to little tiny little details.
Well, sometimes, again, I think it's all magic, man. Like, there are times when, we forget things and they're not in our periphery vision. They're not in our peripheral vision right now, but it's something that's important to us. And then we think about it like the day before. It's like, I wonder when is that? And I just happened to look it up, and it's just like, oh yeah, there it is. There it is.
Dude, that's what happened. And I was just right now. I was just finishing my reading for the day that I do with a group of people, and you signed on, and I was like, oh, I ain't finished it. You don't sign off. I mean, I saw that you signed whatever. And that's how I got up here. So I said, let me finish what I'm doing, and then if you're still there, then I'm gonna pop in. But yeah, and so things happen like that all the time. Because I know I was thinking of you because I was like, his birthday gone, because I realized that your birthday is the same birthday as my niece. Because I forget hers because I'm a person. I'm human.
Absolutely.
So I'm grateful. And whenever I can lock them in and keep them locked in, I feel good about it. But it takes me, of course, it takes repetition.
Yeah, and I'm grateful that I just can put things in my phone and it remember it for me, and then it reminds me a week in advance. So I got so I don't know, it was yesterday or it was the day before that I got a little announcement that told me, hey, Loyce's birthday's coming up.
See, look, I'm gonna say this. I have not been so proficient in putting the dates in the thing and having the thing remind me. Sharente has been working me with this, and because I put the dates on the calendar, and I haven't figured out how. Maybe because I turned off notifications, huh?
Maybe. You're just like we shoot ourselves in the foot sometimes, by being like, what, I need this space, but it's just like, and that's one of the things with AI and all of this, where it's like, there's great resources, but it's also intrusive. And really sometimes sometimes it's a trade-off. Sometimes you're just looking at it as a trade-off. Just like I'll allow you to intrude to some extent. Yeah. But then it's like, it's ultimately companies. We're not talking about AI. We're talking about a company that is run by, possibly greedy people. I don't want to say that they're all greedy. I'm just saying, but, and those people, if they're going to benefit, like if their AI is going to benefit by being more intrusive, they're going to try to be more intrusive, and they are well within their right to do that.
Yeah, because it's an all right to say, hey, I'm not going to use that app. Hey, I'm not going to do that thing. Hey, I'm not going to listen to that thing. So I don't even care whether they're trying to make money or not. My job, because my job is regulating my nervous system.
That's right.
I find that having notifications every few minutes and my phone be blowing up. is not healthy for my nervous system. So I turn off notifications, and when I'm ready to be notified, I look at my I look at my phone and see who texted me and who called me that I missed, and then I call them back.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And I love, and like for me, like not having, like it's a big benefit for me to not have to, take my calendar. I remember when I was a kid, my mom would get a calendar every year, a wall calendar.
Yes.
And one day in January or between Christmas and New Year's, maybe, she would take her address book. And her address book is like our contact, in our phone. And it would have their name, their address. My mom would put notes about who their husband or wife was and their birthday if she knew it. And then, so she'd have all of these things. And then she'd take the calendar and go from A all the way through her contact to Z, and put in, just fill in birthdays on the calendar.
Yes,
even if she knew the birthday, she would there'd be a day where she'd just sit in the chair or, and do this. And we don't take time for things like that anymore to keep up those little things. This is why for me in my contacts, as soon as I learn someone's birthday, I like to, if I don't forget, because I don't do it in front of them. If I learn their birthday, it's like I try and put it in my mind and then put it in their contact, and then my phone will let me know a week before their birthday. And sometimes, it's like it's nice because I can just send out a letter or a card, or it's give me enough time. But it's not. It doesn't have to be something that's overly invested in,
I would say dogmatic, because I used to be very dogmatic about it. I was like your mother. I would write all the birthdays down, all the phone numbers down, the kids' names, or if I didn't have all that information, I would write where I met them.
Just like Rolodex style, it
was Rolodex stuff. And then when the phones came out with all this newfangled, I'll say newfangled, but it ain't new no more. With all the stuff where they keep your phone numbers and the addresses, I stopped remembering phone numbers. I stopped remembering address. I stopped remembering birthdays. Some of the birthdays I've been knowing for 30 years. And because I stopped doing it the way I used to do it, now they even slip my mind. Okay. Not often, not very often, but a friend of mine, recently, their grandson did something to himself that was not cool. Put it like that. And he's no longer with us. And I usually remember his birthday all the time, but I was hanging out with you in Chicago and I was so busy in what I was doing and wrapped up in what I was doing and touring the city that the date went and came. So when I got home, I said, oh my God, how did I miss that birthday? And I heard in my mind, you don't ever miss the birthday. This is the first time you ever did this. So just let them know, hey, my bad, I missed your birthday because I was so enthralled in my trip. And then they tried to guilt trip me. I said, hold up, wait a minute. You always forget mine. This is my first time forgetting yours. But anyway, let me give you a number for my time run out. Go ahead, and today is the 3rd, so give me number 3.
Inspiring strong people. Praising the status that can be achieved will chastise those who don't achieve it. Praising a possession that can be owned will condemn those who don't own it. When nothing arouses competition, people will be at peace. The master leads by not defining status or possession. She weakens the ambition of those around her, which toughens their resolve to be as they are. By individuals releasing their ambition, everything falls into place.
Oh my goodness, that is so good, because I was recently having a conversation with somebody, and it was my nephew. He says, Auntie Loyce, you've been going to Korea, to here, to there, to this, to that, to this, but you don't post nothing. And I was telling him, I was trying to explain to him that I don't want nobody to say, oh, I want to do that. I'm going to come back. Oh, well, I can't do. I didn't want that happening. And this said it better than I could have ever said. And I just told them this last month when they were, like I said, they were out here last month. I just told him this last month that I didn't want to incite anybody, but any jealousies, any competition, because it's not about how I live my life. It's about how you live your life to the fullest. Okay.
Absolutely.
And we talked about this too. I love to experience things. Okay. I don't necessarily need a picture because I'm fully immersed in the experience. Okay. So to me, this like goes right along with our conversation we had when I was there.
Yeah.
And the conversation I just had with my nephew, because I was like, am I supposed, because it's my birthday. Usually I do a once a year post. Cause I'm just not into the Facebook.
Yeah, of course.
No
yeah.
more.
Why? There's nothing in it.
And the thing is that I know people was waiting for these pictures and I don't even feel compelled to send them. I'll be real. I don't even.
And I think that's the thing. Like, do I feel compelled to do this? And we could tell the story that, like, you know, this is what you're supposed to do. This is the etiquette of it or whatever. And it's like, I'm just not exposed. Like, I went out and I got a, you know, like I went out with a friend of mine and I was telling her about the Camino, and she was telling me about going climbing in Mexico, and she showed me pictures and stuff, and I was telling her about the Camino, and she's a photographer, and she was like, "Oh, do you have pictures?" And I was like, "No." and then she was like, "Just whoa, like, I'm just going through a moment right now," and I was like, "Yeah, because, like, one, she's a photographer, so I understand that she you know, like, lives her life with pictures, you know, but I was just very much like, no, you know, and I did tell her that, like, I had a WhatsApp group in which I posted pictures, but they disappeared after 24 hours. So that, because they disappeared, because it was this thing that was still going to disappear, it gave me a little more impetus to be like, oh, this is a nice picture to take. And even if I only took 4 pictures, like, it was just sort of like, and it just happened, and I was more inspired or inclined to do it because I knew that they were going to disappear, and I knew that, like, not only is this fleeting, but the picture I'm taking is fleeting too.
Yes, it fleets as soon as you look at whatever you're looking at, and for me, the picture I see in my mind with my eyes is better than any picture that I could take with a camera, because it does not translate all the emotion, all the feeling, all the stuff. Now, some photographers can take those pictures and they can have you feel what they felt when they took it, but I'm not a photographer. Okay. Right. And if I take pictures, it's because somebody asked me to. So even yesterday, I'm going to say this, even yesterday, my kids took me to a rage room. Oh my God, it was so much fun. I got to break up anything in the room.
Oh yeah.
And then I called out, hey, this is for this is for that. And it felt so freeing. But I realized Loyce did not take the pictures. So Sharente got a picture of us before we left the place, so that we would have some pictures. And the lady said she did a video. Sharente paid for a video to be done. So I didn't even focus on, let's take a picture of the mess we make. And no, to me, it's like me being in that rage room was me against me letting go of anything that was still stuck in me before my birthday. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was smashing that was Martin John. If you ain't never did that before. That is some fun stuff, just to smash stuff up, because I've always, don't you break that. Don't you break that.
Yeah, everything is precious, right?
Yes.
Like, and then when all of a sudden you realize things aren't precious, and you can, and you get the freedom of doing that, you know?
Yeah. And we look at this stuff. Oh my really God, look at this pretty candelabra. Oops. No more.
Yeah. Like smash it into the vase and, like, you know, whatever.
Yes.
You know.
Okay, sledgehammer and all, but thank you so much, and thank you for Chicago. I really appreciate you. I love you, Martin John.
Baby.
All right.
Yeah. Bye. You know, rage room. I've never been to a rage room. I dated this girl for a time, and what she would do is she'd get, like, plates And this was Sarah. I mean, I was with her for 9 years. I may have mentioned her before. She was young. I was young. But when we started dating, she would go to like the Goodwill or whatever and buy plates so that she could break them. Like she would just have a stack of plates in her living room. And if she needed, she just threw across the room and she would yell and stuff. And there was a time when I was talking to her and I was just like, that's all fine and good, but, be careful of that as an addiction in and of itself, because she would do it regularly. It wasn't like she went into a room to have this, cathartic experience. She would just constantly be breaking these things, and it was something, and we had a conversation about it. But I do like a rage room experience. I can understand it, but it reminds me of a piece of video art that I saw, and I don't know the artist, and I've been looking for this video for years. I every now and again, and I might even search it again today, because AI is getting better, so I might be able to have a conversation with it to kind of hone in on what it is. But what it was, and I saw this at the Museum of Contemporary Art many, many years ago. What it was essentially like a rage room, like a room in which you would just destroy everything. And it was a video that this artist took of them in this room destroying it, but it was played in reverse. So there was this sort of really interesting kind of things that would, instead of breaking, everything was getting put back together. And as you're watching this video, you start to see this really slow, subtle movement of the light, because it's playing in reverse. The light is moving slowly because it's at the end of having been hit or something, right? And then it starts to move bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it's like wildly flopping around, and then it stops, because that's when the moment that it hit. And like just watching this video, and it's a long video, it's probably about 40 minutes or whatever, but it might be longer than that. I don't know. But it's this whole room, right? It's like one camera angle of somebody just destroying this room in reverse. And so the way that it all comes together, the way you experience this video was, it was brilliant. Again, I don't know who did it. I don't know. I know nothing about it. I know it was video art. I know it was shown at the Art Institute, and I know it is a reverse video of someone destroying a room. So if anyone knows anything about that, like I can't imagine that anybody does, but if you do know anything about that, please let me know. It's a very specific thing, because I've searched for it before, and I found things, but it's not what I was experiencing. Not the video that I was watching. And there's only one of these, as far as I'm aware, because I've been searching for it for a long time, and it hasn't. I haven't been able to find it. But Loyce talking about a rage room, and I think rage rooms are great. I think giving people the opportunity to realize that things are not precious is great. Like I remember when I was younger, when I finally, moved out of my house and stuff, moved out of the place with my mom and whatever, I realized how scared I was to break a dish or to break a glass or to break something. And I had to break some things just to be okay with it. I made, like I'm an artist, so I make things. I made plates and a mug, so I have a mug that I use for just about everything. I have one plate that I use for every meal. I made these things. But I had two plates. One of the first things I did with the other plate was drop an I-beam on it. And so it broke like almost within I think it was within 2 or 3 days of me having it at the house. Like I broke it. It was a great plate. It laid flat on a table and everything. And, but the plate that survived doesn't. The plate that survived and then I use every day doesn't lay flat, doesn't sit flat. It wobbles. And I'm fine with that. But when I look at this number 3 that Loyce chose, and we look, praising a status that can be achieved will chastise those who don't achieve it. Praising a possession that can be owned will condemn those who don't own it. You don't put anything on a pedestal, right? As I make my stuff and I like it, that's fine. It's not perfect, but it is what it is. And I'm not trying to own anything special, and when I go on vacation, I don't I have some pictures from Spain, but I don't carry them with me. And I don't try and say that this is something special. If you want to walk the Camino, please do. I want you to walk the Camino. I want you to climb a mountain in Mexico. I want you to do the things that you do because you're inspired to do those things. Not because someone else has made you jealous. Not because somebody else has made you think that, their life is more exciting than yours, because it's not. Like, that's why I'd like to remind people, if you're not the coolest person what are you doing? Right? Like, if you think something's cool, go do it. If you see someone doing something and you think it's cool, go do it. And if you don't have time or energy or the patience or the whatever, if you don't have the stick-to-itiveness to go do the thing that you want to do, then maybe you don't think it's so special. Maybe that's not the coolest thing you can do. Maybe that's not it for you. Marianne, how are you?
I just woke up, so.
Oh, okay. Well, let's take a breath. Yeah. Let's stretch out a little bit. Stretch your back. Get it. Just move it around. Roll your shoulders. Tilt your neck back and forth, side to side.
Oh, good.
Yeah, here we are.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, back in the body.
Back in. Or wake up. Mm-hmm. So if you only have one plate, what do you do if someone comes over?
Oh, I use one plate. I do have 2 or 3 sitting somewhere that I would have to dust off. But
funny.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. But no. Like So I made 6 plates. 2 survived, and then I broke 1. So when I say survived, I mean survived the firing, right? So there's a ceramic. These were wood fired, so it's not in a super controlled environment. Like there's a lot that you can't control in a wood fire that you can control in like an electric fire. So atmospheric kiln versus a pressurized sort of controlled electric kiln. So the fire is moving about and air is moving about and stuff. And the temperature in one corner is going to be different than in another corner of the kiln. And the kiln is really big. And so it's hard to kind of keep the temperature of the entire kiln the same and at the same level. And to stop it from increasing temperature. And so what happens is the clay vitrifies, which means it becomes kind of like a liquid before actually solidifying into the hard ceramic that we know, like the porcelain of our tub and our toilet and our plates and things. So it becomes like a liquid. And when it's vitrifying, when it's in that state of becoming a liquid, it can droop, and that's why, like my plate is not flat because it drooped, and the other plates didn't survive because they drooped too much, and then maybe fused with other plates, and so although I made 6. 2 survived, and 1 I broke almost immediately.
Oh,
interesting. So that's the science behind ceramics.
Yeah, I've never done it, so I have a little bowl from when I was in first grade. So it must have been a
You
while.
have it?
I do actually. It's yellow, so it was. I had painted it when maybe it was. Yeah, I
Glazed
painted it yellow. Yeah, I glazed it and gave it to my dad and whatever, probably, 30, I don't know. He ended up giving it back and I use it to just hold little whatever.
That's beautiful. See, and we don't even think about things like that. Like we made that. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's nice. It's nice to have the things that we make. I mean, how many, like, when you go, I mean, you probably go to people's homes and you have things that their children make that they keep and stuff like that, or that they make. And so, because, I don't have a lot of, I'm surrounded by artists, so they, like, their entire lives are filled with things that they make. But so many people don't have handmade things in their life. They only have, like, machine-made things. And so it's nice to have a little thing, even if it is just to hold some things, because we need things to hold things.
Yeah. I like it. Well, that's funny because I'm looking right now. Talk about things. I'm looking at a little Yoda head that one of my boys made. And then I have two, I think they called it negative space, where they took their handprint but filled in the space between their hands. Mm-hmm, and then that's the art piece. And then they painted them. So.
Yeah, so there's a lot of art that utilizes negative space. There were artists who have, made these concrete sculptures of the negative space underneath a chair. Like that would be a place that a child might hide or do things. And then so what they did was they would just make a box around the chair essentially, and then just mold this sort of negative space from under the chair, and then those would sit in a circle, right? And so it's like there's this, cool. There are these like little kind of vignettes around this space that would be considered maybe safe, or the space from underneath the table, where a child might go, and then you block that off by making it the sculpture. That's the thing. And then that's artists sort of recognizing Tao in the world. It's sort of like this idea of this is the empty space. This is the space that is important to somebody, whether it's the dog or whether it's the child or whether it's, this is the space that is getting forgotten in your room, right? This is, and just recognizing that and then filling that space in just to highlight it and then removing the chair, right? Like instead of the chair being here, we're just going to put the space that the chair was making unimportant. And the space that the chair was making unusable is now the sculpture, right? Same thing with that video I was talking about earlier, right? Like, we could look at the nice room and we can look at the room when it's destroyed, and those make for great photographs or whatever. But here's the process. Here's the process of it going from destroyed to fixed, right? And two together. And it's like this idea of creation through destruction. So art kind of tends to, be meditative in a way that allows inspiration and allows Tao to kind of speak through people. In
August, I'm going to the Walker Art Center in Minneapolis.
Well, I love the Walker. It's one I can't say enough about the Walker. I love the Walker.
I was there years ago when it was the Guthrie, so I've never been actually to the Walker.
The Guthrie. I've never been to the Guthrie. When was it the Guthrie? Because I've been going to the Walker for 30 years.
Okay, well, probably that they moved the Guthrie. I haven't been to the new one downtown Minneapolis, so more than 30 years.
Jesus. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Well, it was the Guthrie before the Walker.
No. They were together, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So one side was the theater and then the other was the art museum.
Okay. Yeah, because the Guthrie does sound familiar. I don't think I've ever been. It's a theater.
Yep.
Okay. Maybe that's I've never seen theater in Minnesota. I'm from Chicago. Why am I going to go to Minnesota?
Why would you do that? You got your own little Broadway.
Yeah. We got our own thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, wonderful. Well, the Walker is. I love the Walker. They have a really great collection. They collect a lot of Midwestern artists. They have a lot of Chicago area artists. They have their sculpture garden is top notch. Yeah.
With the cherry and the spoon. I think everyone
Spoon Bridge is
Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful piece.
Oh. So I'm going in August. There's a deaf artist, Christine something. Yep. So I'm going to go with her with my tutor, and that should be interesting because she brings in the deaf piece to it. It's called All Day, All Night. So.
Oh wow.
So
that's a good title. Good title.
Yeah, field trip day, so.
Yeah, that's right. It's fun. It's always love a field trip. And field trip to the art museum, that's a good time. Especially one like the Walker, because the Walker is challenging. It's not, I know there's a more traditional museum in Minnesota or St. Paul as well. Yep. I forget. I don't know. It's more painting driven.
Yeah, that's the one I've gone to.
What's the name of it?
I don't remember what that's called.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Let's pick a number.
Yeah, I don't have one.
You don't have one, so I'll pick one for you. Number 63. Problems are no problem. Be still and you will act without doing. Be still and your work will happen regularly. Be still and your senses will engage the subtle. Similarly, engage a stranger as the multitude. See the majesty of the mountains in a grain of sand. The master knows greatness cannot be grasped. Remaining still, she allows greatness to flow through her. With no desire to achieve it, her stillness guides her. Making subtle movements, the difficult seems easy. She knows that all life is not without its problems, so problems turn out to be no problem at all. I can't help but think about, your journey over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Things take time.
Oh, gosh, yes.
And that's why, when I work with people, it's like for a month and then I just let you go off on your own. Because it's I can sit here and I can work with people week in and week out. But what I kind of feel like that does is it just keeps you stuck. You have to go out and live. You have to go out and figure this out. This is why when it says be still and you will act without doing. I can't tell you that any more clearly than that. Be still and you will act without doing. And I can't prove that it's true, but you will. And I can't tell you what that's going to look like, but you'll know it when you see it. You know, and then it says, the master knows greatness cannot be grasped. But everybody, you know, in the world today really kind of, they focus on what you can grasp. They focus on like what can be measured. I'm like, this can't be measured. And over the years, you might be able to look back at some point and go, oh, it makes so much sense now. But along the way, you couldn't measure it. You even can't measure it now, even though you're here. You can't measure the distance you've come. You can see that you're in a different place, but you can't measure it. You can't look at it and say, well, this is how I got here, because I don't even know. I don't even know how I got here, but here I am, all the same.
Yeah, isn't that true? Because, I do look back and I do see how much I changed. And I don't care as much anymore. I've always been focused on getting like results right away. And so it's a total switch to just sit, to let it play out, like a whole building, and just being okay with that.
How did we get here? And there's like these little vignettes that you remember, right? Like putting your head on his shoulder or like standing next to each other. And like, that was months ago.
Yeah.
But it really kind of, it's connected. And all of a sudden it's like, well, that's even behind me now. Like I'm not even in that place anymore. And I was so happy to be in that place. And then I ripped myself out of it by having to identify it.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's like, oh, wait, no, it's not about any of that. It's just about what's going on right now. And this is where it's like, be still. Still your mind, still your body, still your desire, still your will.
Yeah, classes ended yesterday, so that was the line that really stuck out.
Yeah.
It's like, I finally get to do today. I don't have any plans except
That's
nice.
The mall?
Mole.
Oh.
Yeah. All the neighbors did yesterday around. I'm like, shoot, now I really have to. Gotta be like the Joneses,
Yeah, you got to.
Now I like a mowed lawn, so.
Yeah, I do too. I got this woodchuck. It's a big one.
Oh, did you get him?
I got a picture of him. I had to get a bigger trap because he dwarfed my traps, and I had two different size traps. I needed to get a big beaver size trap.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's not small. But thank you so much for joining me. Love you.
Yep, love you too.
Bye-bye. Yeah, go ahead and bring up Jya K. This is what I do, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you are interested in reaching out, you can find a way to contact me through the links in my profile. Jya K, how are you doing?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing good. You sound so good.
Well, thanks. I feel I have this practice in the morning that I started not that long ago, but just sitting and just allowing myself to be still. But then I release whatever it is that I feel like I'm holding on to in that time. And I really like it. I really do. I really enjoy it. And I release it out loud. I say it out loud so I can hear myself say it. So, I don't know. I just something I came across, thought to try. So that's what I've been doing. I like adding that to my routine. And, for however long they'll stay, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, just like in that one Tao, it's like know where their reach should end. Like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. And like with my journaling, like this morning, my pen ran out of ink in the middle of my journal. And I was like, oh, I got to find another pen. And I was kind of searching around and I was like, I didn't. And then I remembered I wanted to do this other thing. And so I I mixed up a tincture for somebody, and then I started doing some other thing. And then I was like, and then I looked at my bed. It wasn't made, and my journal was still out. And it's like I had a half page written, and you saw that the ink was running out. And I was like, oh yeah, oh well, I'll get a pen today. And then I just put it aside. And I was just like, okay, like you do what you do and move on. And it's like, whatever, like this is where it's going to stop today. And some days, and hopefully, well, not hopefully, it's just like, we'll see if today I get a pen and put it with my book, or if I'm going to wake up tomorrow and see no pen and then just say, not going to do it.
Yep. That's it.
Can't tell.
No.
Never can tell.
But it's nice to do that. I think just receiving that, and just saying, okay, what, this is cool. This is cool too, whatever it happens to be. I mean, you can force it, but I don't know. It's usually there's something else there, whatever it happens to be. Like, we were talking about the car and the groundhog, like you wanted to work on your back house any old way. So now you have to do this, whatever you
see,
have to do.
And I think one of the great things about being open and flexible is that I can realize that, yes, I wanted to work in the back house anyway, or I was inspired to work in the back house because this was going to happen anyway. Right. So once again, like as I was looking at number 1 earlier, that idea of like, either way, no one can tell. The difference is in your experience, whether you experience the depth of the mystery and you say, oh, like that I am connected to the universe, and I'm connected to this groundhog, and I'm connected to all this, and I know what's happening deep inside of me. And so my desire to work on the house is being inspired through all of this connection. And, I can look at that depth of the mystery, or I can be like, I wanted to work on the house, and this is what's going on with the house. And this is, and so I can look at it either way. Either way, no one can tell, and either way, neither
it doesn't
is
matter.
True. Right. Either way, it doesn't matter.
Not.
You are just doing what you do, and life is easy, and that's it. And just move on. That's all I can do.
And that's being ready to move on, and I think that's the preparation, all the daily work that you do, is part of that. Just because for a long time, I needed for my car, it would be upsetting me. And I held on to that upset, and I told myself, well, you had to work on the car anyway. You needed to bring it into the shop. It's just another story to help bridge. I mean, that has a purpose too. But realizing that none of the stories are true, or none of them matter any old way. It just, you have a little more energy then I do. I have a little more energy to do something else that's just, like you always say, stupid, I have this practice that I do today. Okay, that's nice, and tomorrow I might not do it, and that's okay too, but for today, this is what I'm doing. And, I can't tell you how many times I've like journaled or written to somebody and just thrown the letter out and come back to the circle that I just, I was like, none of this shit matters. Like, but also understanding and respecting the activity that I did, because it had purpose. It was just purpose for whatever. I don't know. And might not understand what that purpose is, but having respect for that moment and how I spent that energy. And then then I go on to the next thing. But I used to get angry too about that. Like, oh, I wasted time. Like, I did this thing and it just didn't amount to anything, but it does. Every one of those moments matter. I might not know why, but it serves some kind of purpose to support me. And it's, it's all part of the ride. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. You got a number?
I do. It is 51.
51, the cycle.
Mm-hmm. I keep picking it. I pick it in my book. That's the thing. Like, and that's a fairly new book, so it's not like indented to the pages or anything. I don't know. I don't think so, because it's still pretty flat. Anyway.
All right. Well, let's keep the title in mind. The cycle. So we'll just keep in mind that as we read through it. This is something that starts, and as it finishes, starts again. Life is a gift received from Tao. It sustains all things as part of that gift. Everything emerges perfect, unconscious, and free, harmonizing with all things, completely maturing in its own time. All things exist and are nurtured through Tao. It fosters and provides for them completely. Tao does not possess or interfere, each expressing and maturing in their own nature. When their experience is complete, Tao receives them again. Thoughts?
My thought was, can you read it one more time?
Life is a gift received from Tao. It sustains all things as part of that gift. Everything emerges perfect, unconscious, and free, harmonizing with all things, completely maturing in its own time. All things exist and are nurtured through Tao. It fosters and provides for them completely. Tao does not possess or interfere, each expressing and maturing in their own nature. When their experience is complete, Tao receives them again.
Yeah, I think the line that stood out to me is the fosters and provides for them completely, or something of that nature. And the harmonizing line, harmonizing with all things. And I think that's, part of what I, even in moments where I'm really struggling. I mean, 'cause I have them often still, that doesn't go away. Where my mind and my heart aren't really connecting, or, what I see might make me feel a certain way, or how, however that's impacting me, and realizing somewhere still in the back of my head, I hear that harmonizing, that this is a part of it, that this has some kind of purpose, even if you can't see it right now. And you might never see it. You might never know. And but that faith, it comes back to me in those moments that it has a purpose. There's something here for me. And same thing with picking this over and over again. There's something in it for me. I might not be able to pick up on it completely, because in my head, there's something between the first set of verses about the maturing in its own time, and then the maturing in their own nature. There's something there in my mind, but I'm not making the connection right now. So I'll have to look at that a little bit more at some point.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was like what came to me when I was reading is really interesting, because it's like this idea that, okay, life, as we break it apart, life is a gift received from Tao. It sustains all things as part of that gift. Everything emerges perfect, unconscious, and free. Okay, everything, your thoughts, your being, your children, everything emerges perfect, unconscious, free, harmonizing with all things. Now, sometimes when you harmonize, it's beautiful. And sometimes when you harmonize, it's ugly, but it's still harmonizing. Like you may, just because you are not in harmony doesn't mean you're not harmonizing. It's just a different way of harmonizing. You're aligned because, like, look, I hate this thing. You hate this other thing. You got your chocolate in my peanut butter. You got your peanut butter in my chocolate. Like, just because you didn't think you liked peanut butter, your chocolate has been enhanced by it. Now, it doesn't have to be as delicious as all that, but when we talk about the pre-karmic buffet, the idea is to find the deliciousness in it. And that find the deliciousness in how you've harmonized with someone. because just because you didn't think chocolate and peanut butter were good together, we realized that they are, you know. And so you may be upset at somebody and you may yell at them, you may get angry at them, you may flip them off, you may do all these things, but that's harmonizing. You are inspiring them to get angry, or they're inspiring you to be angry, which is then going to lead you to mature as you are going to mature in your own nature, regardless of how this other person is going to mature, regardless of how this other person is responding to anything.
Yeah, it's like I was thinking about this the other day, actually, with the idea of syncopation, like in music and things like that. Just, we get thrown off, or I get thrown off my rhythm. And then it's like in jazz, those offbeats. But it's just, they are in harmony as well. That is a way of harmonizing. Some people hear it, some people don't, but it's that offbeat. And those are the moments. Those are just, they're not any less aligned, and that part of it, maybe I'm using that word wrong. I could be.
What word?
I'm not a musician. Syncopation, but that's what I thought
so syncopation is a disruption.
Yeah, but
it's a deliberate disruption of musical.
So I'm not using it wrong, though. Maybe
no.
I'm thinking about.
I was impressed, actually, because I was like, I don't know if she's using the right word, but then when you explained it, I was like, oh yeah, she does. This is exactly the word she wanted to use.
So yeah, I mean, it's just.
I was first sort of like, are you sure? And then you said like jazz, the offbeats, and I was like, oh yeah, that's exactly what she's using.
Well, that's kind of what.
Sometimes when we just trust, because like we don't have to know the definition of something sometimes to use it, and sometimes we do it to impress, and sometimes we just do it naturally, and it's the right word for some reason. Like we know that deep inside, and that again moves towards that whole faith in Tao and all of this. Like even this conversation, right? This conversation is being nurtured through Tao, and it's fostering and providing for the conversation. I'm being fostered and provided for. You're being fostered and provided for, and Tao's not possessing or interfering with any of it. And then all of these things are maturing in our own nature. The conversation is is maturing in its own nature, and it will return to Tao. I'm maturing in my own nature, and I will eventually return to Tao. And same with you.
Yeah. It's all part of it. Yeah, it's just sometimes you get the offbeat, but it's no less beautiful than the actual frequency, the non-syncopation, whatever the rhythm, I guess.
Yeah, the rhythm. Yeah.
It's part of it, it's not separate. And I think that's the thing I was thinking of the other day. Anyway, love you. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye. We're going to bring up Johnny. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you guys want to reach out, please check out the links in my profile. You can always set up a free 30-minute consultation with me, and we can chat about Tao and how it might be possible for us to work together if you're interested. Johnny, how are you doing?
Good morning, Martin John. A belated happy birthday. Luckily, I think that was one of the reasons I was inspired to come up yesterday. I meant to mention it then.
Quite all right.
So, and oddly, it popped up on my phone on Wednesday, which I think was the day after your birthday. So, but I didn't know if you were a birthday type person, but obviously you are. So I.
Oh, well, I would, don't jump ahead. I don't do much, on my birthday. I don't celebrate. I don't really mention it. I let it kind of come and go. It's not, I've been around 51 years. I don't know that I've ever had, like, I'm sure there is a best birthday. I couldn't tell you which one it was. There is a best only simply because there would have to be. Like, even if they all sucked, there was one that would suck the least. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, so I'm sure, There's one. I am not really a birthday person. I appreciate and am glad people can say happy birthday and that I can receive that, but I don't. I don't. Like I fly under the radar. I allow it to. But it's funny how like it comes up in my life, just like people being. I remember one time it was my birthday and nobody knew, and I was out and I was having a great time with people and I was having a nice evening. And then I found myself on an elevator with a couple friends, and then they were all just talking about like signs and stuff. She's like, "Oh, well, when's your birthday?" I was like, "June 30th." And then they were talking and they was like, "Wait, that's today." And I was just like, "It is." It was like, wait, it's your birthday. And I was like, "Yeah, it is." So that was an interesting experience. So that's how non-birthday person I am. Although people do know my birthday, because I don't hide it anymore. But it does sort of fly under the radar for me.
Yeah, I'm very similar. I'm kind of agnostic about it, if that's the right word. I'm just pretty. I'm kind of. It is what it is, and I'm okay with it. But I don't advertise it. So yeah. I thought I really liked. I've been thinking about some of the conversations you've been having, and and also the topic of yesterday, or some of the topics of yesterday, and one of them is about. You mentioned stillness today, and and you were also talking about doing the next most obvious thing. And I was wondering I'm becoming much more aware of the energy that I put, that my actions arise from. So I'm becoming much more aware, is this a love-based or is this a fear-based action? Is this a love-based decision or a fear-based decision? Especially when you've got challenges, it can easily sort of come from a place of the ego, where sort of you want to try and resolve the issue or resolve the challenge as soon as possible. But that inadvertently can actually, it's not necessarily bringing the right energy towards it, and can inadvertently cause more problems. So I liked, and I was, the other day I was thinking I really liked the line, "Can you let the mud settle?" And that I've only started more recently to understand what that means. I think my current interpretation is that mud is your thoughts, or can you allow your mind to settle so you get to a point of no thought and actually allow the inspiration to come forth. And I guess it also extends to stillness in your body and stillness in your will, even, as you mentioned earlier on. So that was a lot, but that's kind of what I've been pondering while sort of you've been talking.
So I mean, we can look at that verse that talks about that, or we can just pick a number and see where it takes us.
I would like to look at that verse, actually. Yes, please. I
All
don't
right,
know the number.
It's 15.
15. Okay, great.
So 15 is Ancient Tao. That's the title, Ancient Tao. And what this verse really kind of says is, look, the ancient masters, they had the ability to do this stuff. The problem is that we didn't have a written language yet. And so we don't know what they were doing. The best we can do is guess from how they must have appeared.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the best we can do. It's the best we can do for the ancient masters. And now the ancient masters existed, and you know, so this goes into a little history, because like this, you know, the Tao Te Ching was written before there was any standardized language written language. You know, it was at best a proto written language before written language was actually identified and solidified into anything. So this is the best we have. The earliest we can record something. This is what was recorded.
Yeah.
Nobody was writing a grocery list
Yeah.
with their ability to write, right? Nobody was doing because it wasn't standard. It wasn't something people did. Only a few people read, and most language that appeared before this was numbers. You know, we had numbers before we had written language because we had accounting before we had written language. So it's interesting, you know, when we look at movies and we watch movies from the 20s and 30s and 40s, and then we watch movies now, and there's a different sensibility. And then we hear stories about people watching a movie of a train coming at the camera and are scared that they're going to get run over by a train.
Yeah.
And the different ways that we experience life. And so this verse is really saying, like, can you recognize that? Can you recognize that they're living a different life than you? And this is what it looked like for you. This is what you might have seen them do. But they're doing this from a different perspective. It's not about what you're seeing.
Yes.
You know? And so what it says is the ancient master's ability to comprehend the mystery was so profound and subtle, they were misunderstood. One could only describe how that must have appeared. You know, earlier I was talking about this idea of this guy on the mosaic who said, we're beyond that now. You know?
Yeah.
His ability to comprehend the situation might have been a lot more profound than I understood. But it might have just been he wants to avoid getting in trouble. Right? It might have been very simple, but it might have been more profound. But I wouldn't know because this is what I'm observing. And so what it says here, this is, one can only describe how it must have appeared. And it's interesting that it says must have appeared because the people who are writing didn't get to appear. It didn't get to see them because those are generations before.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This isn't a one-to-one thing, but this is what they must have appeared to be doing. They must have appeared careful as someone hearing ice crack midway through crossing a lake. Why must they have appeared that way? Because how could they not have been careful? How could they have appeared any other way if their understanding of the world was so profound?
Yeah.
Observant as someone surrounded by, why must they have appeared observant as someone surrounded by toxic threats? This is the riddle. What does that look like? What does it look like when you're surrounded by people that are just wanting to attack you? Are you going to run and stand out like a sore thumb and jump underneath a chair or hide behind a curtain? No, you're going to try and be observant, and you're going to try and navigate through this somehow with pride, but not drawing too much attention to yourself. And that's why you have to be observant. You have to be able to listen. You have to be able to look. You have to be able to be like, there are things out there. Why must they have appeared this way? Courteous as a guest in awe of their host. Like that, now we have a change. Now we're courteous. Now we're helpful. They must have appeared helpful. They must have appeared unpretentious as a felled branch in a wood. They must have appeared vacant as someone staring off into space. It's funny when you feel that, when you feel like, I get that every couple days, I'll just stare, and it feels so good to stare. And you're staring off into space, and you're not thinking about anything other than I'm staring off into space. And if I blink or if I move my eyes, I'm going to break it. And I want to hold it just a little longer. And then I blink. And then I'm okay, I can release that. But there's something so deep about that moment. But also when you're looking at someone, when you're engaged with someone that is doing that, it could appear vacant, but there's something going on.
Yeah, it's if these lines are saying to me, they're speaking to me it feels as very much you're being very present,
right,
and very aware, yes, and non-judgmental, just observant.
Right.
Yeah.
Just observant. And then it says, "Can you be still, adding nothing until the mud settles, and gives you the opportunity to see clearly." The mud, if you're looking at someone staring off into space going, wow, they're dense. They're not thinking about anything. They're just staring off into space. Burp, 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 burp. That's mud.
Yes.
That's judgment. That's the mud. That judgment, that expectation, that's the mud. Can you be still, adding nothing? Let that person stare off into space. Let that person be who they are. Don't add anything. And by not adding anything, you can see them for who they are, and you can see clearly. Can you be still until, on its own accord, the next action presents itself to you? It's not you doing a thing. The next action will present itself to you. But can you be still long enough for that to happen?
Yes, exactly.
The master has no need for herself, her ego, her judgments, and all of that. She doesn't need or seek, or she doesn't seek or expect attention. Not needing to appease herself, she has no requests. That's the last line of the ancient Tao, right? She has no requests. No request to be any different than she is. No request to have any more, or to be any more, or to knowing that that's all coming anyway.
Yeah.
Now you're going to be dropping off in about 18 minutes, 18 seconds or whatever. If you want to come back up and wrap this up, that'd be fine. If that's enough for you, I mean, you can go off and think about that.
I just have one comment to make, if that's okay.
Yeah. Come back up and you can make one more comment. Yeah, we can chat about that for a minute. I obviously go through these verses differently for different people and different reasons and all of these sorts of things. I mean, this one we go through kind of line by line to kind of draw Johnny through what he's thinking about with this verse. What was your comment?
I guess prior, and then maybe this is prior to coming into this verse, I was thinking about inspired action, because oddly I thought this verse mentioned inspired action, but it doesn't. But it not directly anyway. It does mention that, but it doesn't use those words. I'm sorry, that's what I should say. And I was thinking, and it feels very much the next action presents itself to you is synonymous with inspired action. And I've been pondering whether inspired action, I think the word inspired comes from in spirit. So it's coming from a deeper place. It's coming from your being and your essence. And I guess that was only sort of last comment.
So don't go anywhere unless you have to.
No.
So inspired action, interesting. Like that's 37. I don't know if that's what you mean while you're thinking about inspired action. I don't know if you're thinking about inspired action, the verse, or if you were thinking about inspired action as an action. Which was it?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry. I just flicked to 37. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So when you say you were thinking of inspired action.
Yes.
Inspired action is the title of 37. So is now, so are you,
I see.
So I don't know if you're, when you say you were thinking of inspired action, you were talking about the proper noun, inspired action, the verse, or if you were thinking about inspired action as a verb in one's life.
I was thinking of it as a verb in one's life.
Okay. So interesting enough, like these proper nouns of the titles do reference verbs. The first line of number 37 is, Tao never does anything yet inspires everything to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we look at that line, right, Tao never does anything. Tao's not the one doing it, but it's inspiring you to do. And so if we look at 15... and we go back to this idea of the master has no need for herself. This is the same thing that, then there's that one verse, like Tao, so too you, which kind of points at this idea, like the way Tao is not trying to interfere in your life is the way you can experience your life as well. And so it's like this idea that it's just like, oh, Tao is inspiring me, but I don't have a thought on that inspiration. I don't have a judgment on what I'm being inspired to do. I'm just doing it.
Yes.
And so when it comes to this line of the master has no need for herself, it's her ego, it's her map of what her life is supposed to be like, quote unquote, right? She doesn't speak or expect attention, not needing to appease herself. She has no requests. She just is inspired by Tao and acts from that. How does she act from that? Well, we don't really know how, but we can tell you what it must have looked like. Because she looks careful as someone hearing ice crack midway through crossing a lake. Because she looks observant as someone surrounded by toxic threats. And so, as we continue to read the Tao, we start to see that, oh wait, these aren't standalone things, right? Like, I all of a sudden realize that, like, Tao's not doing anything, but inspires things to do. But if I am being inspired, I'm not doing.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right? I'm being.
Yeah.
So, there's different, like from the perspective of Tao, it is inspiring us to do. But from our perspective, I'm inspired to be. And the doing happens anyway. That goes back to that line, nothing remains undone, right? Everything, like there's that line, like, everything gets done regardless.
Yes.
Everything gets accomplished regardless of my wanting it, regardless of my needing to define it, regardless of my needing to measure it. Everything's getting accomplished because I have no need for myself, because I have released my ego to be inspired. I have traded that thing that we praise so heavily in our society, right? Success. I've traded that for my life, which is so much more valuable than success, because then nothing can be kept from me, as it says somewhere else in the Tao, right? Like once I once I have no requests, once I have no desire, once I let go of all that I want, nothing can be kept from me. So all the money in the world is mine. All the love in the world is mine. All the luck in the world is mine. But then once I start to measure it, once I start to say, well, I want it to look this way, well, then I have, reached back out to the manifestation to say, satisfy me.
Yeah.
That's not the job of manifestation. You're satisfied at every moment. You're provided for at every moment. You're cared for. You're held at every moment. Now, if you want proof of that, and you want specific proof, you're going to find it difficult.
Yeah, I think, as you were saying, we trade our ego, don't we, for our being?
Yeah, right.
And it's having the trust. I think trust is the word that's coming to me, and having the trust to know that our being has our back. Our being is, our being is our natural state.
Yeah. This isn't a mistake. Yeah. And I think that's the big thing. We have to realize no matter what this is, no matter what this is that's happening right now, this isn't a mistake. It's inspiring me to do a thing. It's inspiring me to, maybe fall in love, or it's inspiring me to get angry, or it's inspiring me to be triggered, or it's inspiring me to be litigious. It's inspiring me to, do whatever it is I'm going to do. But observing that from the outside, rather than like locking yourself into the story, locking yourself into the manifestation of it all, that's the fun of living. And it's exciting to be in this body, to live this life.
It is.
Yeah. And we don't know how it's going to turn out. But we can, we can always look at it and say, well, let's see where this is. This is where the far out comes in. It's like far out. Let's see where this goes. Wow, I'm bedridden for a month. Wow, far out. What's going to happen there? Rather than like burr. There's that burr, that frustration and stuff. That's going to exist. That's going to be there. That's okay. But can we put ourselves in a space where it's like we have no need for ourselves? We have no need to cement ourselves in the manifestation of what we think we are, the identity that we think we carry, the expectations that we thought we were expected, that we thought we were owed.
Yeah, and I'm just, as you say, that sort of concept of being bedridden for a month, I feel it sometimes can be an opportunity to surrender to your being. Yeah. And yeah. I guess that's
and some people may be bedridden for the rest of their lives. So that's a completely, not a completely different thing. That's not something that I've experienced, right? Like I experienced that being bedridden for a month, so I talk about that. I couldn't talk about your experience of waking up with an incorrect procedure, and I couldn't talk about other people, but that's for you to figure out. I'll never be able to put myself in the body of like a black man in the States, right? I'll never be able to put myself in the body of you. I'll never be able to put myself in, like, we all have to do the work that we're set here to do. I can't do your work for you, and you can't expect me to understand the work that you're here to do. You're not going to understand my work, but I know that we both have work, and I love you for doing the work that you're doing.
Yeah. And thank you, Martin. John, I love you for the work that you do, and I appreciate you, and thank you very much.
Was that helpful for understanding the mud settling?
It was. Yeah. Yeah. And I've been on a long time again, so
quite a bit.
Thank you again, and and I appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
And we'll do. You too, man.
Take care.
All right, take care. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This is what I do. This is you get this like free insight into how I work with individual, how I talk to people, how I'm direct. And if this aligns with you and you're interested in working together, definitely check out the links in my profile. And you can set up a free 30-minute call and we can have a little conversation about what that might look like. Other than that, if you benefit from this stuff, again, it's free. However, you could support me and the show through the links in my profile, through Venmo or buy me a coffee. Always welcome support. I think that's it. If you want to pick up a copy of my DAO, you can do so in those links as well. You can also just message me here and I can send you links directly. And you can always say hello. So next week, we're going to have our first Newbie Tuesday. So on Tuesday, any new listeners, anybody that hasn't joined me, not new listeners, but new people that want to come up and call a number, are going to take priority. So if I have a queue of 2 or 3 people, the people that I have not spoken to will get priority over people that I talk to regularly, only because I want there to be, more people coming up. I want you guys to feel like you're welcome. And, I don't want you guys to sit around and wait and think that you have to, cause some people have come on and they've had to wait and I don't want them to wait. So Newbie Tuesday, it's going to be, preferential treatment towards new callers or people that I believe are new callers. So if, Johnny's out there and he wants to get seen right away, he can just create a new, like a new name and I'll pull him up and I'll be like, oh, Johnny, you tricked me. But that's quite all right. Life is easy. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.